When I was very, very young, and by that I mean like 20, I read all these sacred texts from the Indian tradition, and they're funny little books. And they talk about funny little things that when you're young, you think them to be profoundly exotic and profound and those things. I remember, sitting down and watching some movie when the phone rings, and it's my friend. And he says to me, my son has just passed. And his son was like 17. He goes to pick him up from the basketball court, and on the way home he says, can we stop by Round Table? I'd rather have pizza than mom's cooking. He says, sure. So they stop at Round Table, but on the way home I think he has a heart attack. And by the time they rush him to the hospital, he's pronounced dead. And so in our culture, you need 5 people to go to the mortuary, to wash the body, to pray over the body, to bury the body and all that. And in the course of a short 20-year life, you see a lot of things on TV, like people dying and that. You go to various funerals, watch mothers or husbands or wives scream and wail, but you don't really have first-hand experience. But there is something about the environment itself that silences you. It's very intense, and you don't really know what to do. You kind of get lost. 5,000 years of human culture, which is a Persian culture that has given language to grief, given language to loneliness, given language to despair. They all fall away, and all you're left with is just silence. And they knew that I was to some extent interested in philosophy and this and that, so they called me and they said, Amir, would you like to come and be one of the 5 participants? I said, sure. And it was a cemetery in Sacramento, Sunrise Boulevard. It's a beautiful cemetery. It's huge. It's like twice the size of Laney College. And there is a section reserved for Persians and Muslims. And so I go to the mortuary. We're the only people there, 5 of us. And there are 5 buckets of scented water, 5 sponges, and there is this naked body just laying on this white plastic bed. And each of us get a turn to wash a certain body part. And for the first time, you are close to a corpse, a body that has no life in it. And it's not the body of a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old or a 40-year-old. This is a kid who hasn't really lived life. Lots of hopes and lots of dreams. He takes all of them into the tomb. And so as I'm washing the body, all of a sudden, I say, this doesn't make any sense. There is his dad who is 50 or 60, there is me who's like 20, there's this kid who's like 17. Why did he die? How did he die? And so for the next 2, 3, 4 hours, you're washing this corpse and all these questions, and you kind of become numb. And I remember after the 3, 4 hours of being in the mortuary washing the corpse, eventually I had to go back to the car wash to relieve my parents. And all of a sudden it feels like I'm walking on air. It doesn't make any sense. Life doesn't make any sense. That you could have a heart attack at the age of 17 and life could just be taken away and your life could be just uprooted as parents. And I think it stayed with me for about 2 weeks. And I remember remembering that saying in one of the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad, that which makes the eye see but can't be seen by the eye, that which makes the mind think but can't be thought by the mind, that which makes the tongue speak but can't be spoken by the tongue. And all of a sudden you find yourself in the presence of awe and mystery. And one of the things about intimacy, and I'm sure you've experienced this, it's one thing that if I was to come to you and say, my wife just left me and I'm mourning the loss of my wife, and my life has been turned upside down, I'm sure that you, having watched a good amount of Dr. Phil, Oprah Winfrey, and I've read a number of books and perhaps observe your own experiences in life, you're going to sit me down and give me a pep talk. You're going to tell me to be like Marcus Aurelius, be a little stoic. You're going to quote me a few verses from Shakespeare or even the Gospels to give me some comfort. These are the shades you're going to provide me. And you can only do that because it's not you, it's me who has suffered the loss. But if you're able to stretch your own memory back to a time where you were very invested in a relationship, whether it was a son or a daughter or a parent or a boyfriend, girlfriend, getting an A in a class, and the end result is bankruptcy. They left you without any warning, without any notice. I think relationships should be like when you want to vacate an apartment, you have to give like a month notice. Your companion should tell you, listen, I'm going to leave in about a month, so just prepare, okay? None of those things usually happen to us. We come home, we realize the suitcases are packed, we ask where you're going, he says, well, I no longer want to be with you. And if you're able to stretch your memory all the way back to those moments where you were left abandoned and someone was to ask you, so what's going on? Why are you so sad and depressed and you don't want to talk to anyone, you want to lock yourself in your room and turn off the lights and shut the curtains? The only thing you say is just leave me alone. And all of a sudden you realize someone like you, who used to give me a pep talk, is now pushed into silence, all because of intimacy. In other words, you and the pain are one and the same. I think if you're able to write, I think if you're able to vocalize anything, you have bypassed pain to some extent, or maybe pain isn't there, really. You are quite healthy, you're sound in body and mind. Someone like me stands here, asks, is there anything you guys want to talk about? And then you say yes. So what is it? Let's talk about Nietzsche. And I spit out all this information about Nietzsche, But if I was to, I guess very much like Nietzsche, if I was to wait for my companion at a train stop, only to realize that she's not coming, she's left with my best friend, then I'm going to kind of be pushed into silence, grieve for a little bit, and then write about relationships. So the point I'm trying to make is, when something touches you very, very deeply, we are unable to express. It's difficult, and it's something that was, I think, revealed in the Epic of Gilgamesh some years ago. When Gilgamesh loses his best friend, he grows his hair long, he doesn't shave, he doesn't go back to the city, he feels like a stranger in a strange land. And he says, the only thing I'm really looking for is a way to find immortality. I don't want to die, because death has frightened me. I remember reading somewhere that Jean-Paul Sartre used to sit in coffee shops for about 20 years, every single day, and he used to write about 15 to 20, 25 pages every single day by simply sitting and watching people. It's a great way to live life, by the way, don't get me wrong. It's really nice to be able to kind of have the sort of a life where you have the privilege and the luxury of time, of youth, of a sound mind, healthy mind, where you can sit back, observe people, and kind of write about human nature.